Hey there, Mike Dunn, Editor-in-Chief of Tabletop, and I've got something very special to tell you about. It's a new crowdfunding campaign from Gooey Cube. It's called The Tomb of Gyzengax. It's a tribute to Gary Gygax and many of the legends that created the wonderful game that we all love to play. The link is right down here. Go hit it up, back it. You can't go wrong.
All right, we are here again. Not only are we here, but Noah is back on the podcast where he belongs. I wanted to bring it up last week because I was hoping you would be on the podcast, Noah, but you weren't because of more audio issues. But the first week where we had the audio issues, we were preparing for the podcast. You were trying to fix your issues. David was on the phone with you trying to help you fix your issues. I'm not hearing anything that's going on, but what I see is David looking at his phone, you're looking at your phone, and you're like shaking your head. And all I see is your like finger like tap the phone, and I was like, this is probably not going well. I don't think. And then I hear David, yeah, Noah's not going to make it.
David came off mute.
Like, all right, there we go. But glad you're back. Jack, thank you for joining us again. Good to have you on. 4 people means more fun. How's the weather for you guys?
Oh, it's actually awesome. It's like 50 degrees like all week this week. And that's, it's February. This time last year, it was like negative temperatures. So things messed up. But we're recording this on Thursday. Tomorrow is Groundhog Day. And so the groundhog is going to come out and it's going to be determining how things go from here on out. So even though weather is good here, I think things are in for an upset.
Well, I've already been upset. It is pouring out here. And so I'm in San Diego. I live in the desert part, not the beachy, sunny palm trees part. I live in the desert. So where I'm at is not built for the rain. Not only that, I live in California, and when it rains in California, nobody knows how to drive anymore. So I feel like, I was on the freeway. I was getting on the off-ramp highway for you over, East Coast. But green light, car stopped, not moving. And there's like 4-car length between the green light and where the car stopped in front of me. And I'm getting nervous because it's just raining. That's how it feels out here. We're stopped. Nothing's going to happen. But just because it's raining, it just feels unsafe. Like everything, once you're driving in the rain in California, everything just feels unsafe. I don't know if it's like that when it snows with you guys.
Yeah, any kind of bad weather is like an automatic debuff to like everyone's intelligence while driving.
It's because people are too cautious in those situations and they start driving stupider because of it. Like situations where it doesn't matter, like there's that freeing kind of just flowing when weather is fine, but then add that extra weather, something bad could happen, and then people make bad things happen anyway because they're trying too hard to avoid a problem.
I feel like it's both extremes where it's you either drive even more aggressively for some reason, or you don't care and you just drive like normal, or like you said, drive super cautiously.
Yeah, which is it leads me to like throwing out a PSA for everyone.
PSA.
The speed limit is for ideal conditions. If it's snowing and you can't see in front of you and the speed limit's 55, you don't have to go 55.
No.
Just as a PSA for everybody, the speed limit is for ideal.
You have to go 60.
Thank you. Someone finally understands.
You just don't go what the original speed is. It's either below or above, right? That's
just do what you want. It means freestyle.
I feel like that's the only condition where I feel like, yes, go ahead and drive slow. Because otherwise, I'm like, drive the speed limit at the very least. I hate getting behind people who are like 15 miles an hour underneath the speed limit. I'm like, you have a limit that you can go at. Drive that at the very least. 65 most in California. I'm like, at least go 65. you have that limit. Okay, use all of it.
I get stuck behind people all the time. Like I was on the way to work, and it goes from 35 to 45 on this one road, and brother missed both signs because dude's doing 30, like, and continues that while he's going through. And yeah, it was very frustrating because as soon as he goes, my car just roars by. I'm like, I gotta get up to 45.
Yeah. All right. So, I wasn't sure if this would ever happen, but it actually happened. A couple of weeks ago, I actually got to meet David in person. You came out to my neck of the woods, California, where it did rain a little bit, actually. But you didn't have to drive in the rain, and eventually it got a little bit more sunny. But you're as small as advertised. You always talk about how small you are. And yes, this is true.
Anthony, you're talking to royalty.
No.
Hey, good things come in small packages, just saying.
Hey, there is no argument here with that. I'm trying to pull up the picture.
He's talking about the GPU he got from Amazon, okay, guys?
It's CPU. It's CPU because NVIDIA does not share the good things come in small packages ideals. The 5080 is going to be the size of a house.
I am pretty sure the 4080 is as big as David. That is my guess. I'm trying to pull up. Here it is. Oh, I can't. Oh, that's right. StreamYard doesn't let you do JPEGs. I'll put it in post. I'll put the picture in post. But anyway, so yeah, we got to meet before you, David, got to do something really cool. You got to go to the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth press event. So
yes.
Yeah, what was that like?
So the fun thing is when you get there and you're under the impression reading all the embargoes, hey, I can post about everything. And then you get an email afterwards, like when you're already home, that pretty much says, yeah, here's some stipulations. So I had to go and change all of my stuff from preview event to press event. And the reason I say that is because as this is coming out, I got to play more of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Nice.
At this event. It's really cool. I will also, this might be something you can do in post. I've got a cool video of walking into the space, and they set up a sound stage for us with a bunch of PlayStations and just had a bunch of different stations around that you could sit down at and play. They had over in the corner, they actually had like a photo booth area where you could sit on a bench in front of a Chocobo Ranch, which was really cool, like a little backdrop. And then you also had a spot where you could do a green screen with either Barrett's gun or the Buster Sword. And of course I had to get some pictures with the Buster Sword because Buster Sword is awesome. And very heavy in prop form. That thing was like 30 something pounds.
Oh.
And like, yeah, my face looks a little strained. It's the Steel Series Smash, as I told Jack.
Yeah, did you do it?
I did not. I did not want to destroy any of the space. I was a little afraid.
Too powerful, yeah. Okay.
Too powerful. But yeah, so we got to sit down, and the only fun thing was we didn't get as much time with the preview sections as we wanted to, because from what I heard from PR, Square wanted a little bit more in there at the last second, which meant you had 2 hours to play a 4-hour demo. So we were just doing as much as we could, but we got to play 2 different levels. Both actually, it was the start of the game. The first level was the Fated Mount Nebel, I guess, mission.
Can I start running the B-roll? Is this okay?
Yeah, you can play this. This B-roll's from my original preview in September, so we are all in the clear.
Oh, okay.
On this. So it's a lot of stuff that's going to be actually some of that was a part of the demo that I could play, but I skipped intentionally. but it's essentially Cloud telling the story of Sephiroth and Sephiroth kind of becoming a villain. Spoilers. Sephiroth's a villain.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gone.
It seems so nice in Smash Bros.
Did you not hear all the feedback from your last video review, David? Gosh,
yeah,
man,
I know.
all the
spoilers, man. But it's with the footage we played in this, of course, like I said, this wasn't exactly what we played, but playing through everything in this, it just feels really good to play. Like one of the things that I really enjoy about the remake is the combat's a lot of fun. Like you have a lot of good hits, all that kind of stuff. There is something they have done with this game where, and it might even be as simple as audio design, but everything you do feels more impactful in Rebirth than it does in Remake. Like even just a simple swing of your sword feels more impactful. Like if it makes sense,
the weight of it.
It's like I feel the impact. Like that's the biggest thing is when I hit, and I really think a lot of it is just good audio design because there's a lot of oomph behind it. When Cloud slams down with Braver, you hear Braver hitting. Like it's just something that was already done well in Remake, but it's done so much better in Rebirth. Like it's not something where they did a bad job in Remake. They just did a even better job in Rebirth. So combat, nice. It's going to be very familiar if you've played the original ones. One of the things that they've added in this one is the synergy attacks. And one of the things I really like with what they've done with the systems is the systems bleed into each other. So when you're fighting just your normal attacks, you're building the ATB gauge, which you can spend those 2 points essentially to use your abilities or your spells or your items. And you continually build those back as you just land regular attacks. Now, the way that you get this synergy gauge, which are these big flashy attacks, they're not limits, they're similar, but the flashier attacks is you spend your ATB gauge. And you have to spend the other character's ATB gauge as well. So it's not just dependent on you playing just Cloud. You actually have to switch to other characters, and different characters have different special attack tag team attacks with different characters that as you spend your ATB gauge, it measures that, okay, you've spent 3 points with Cloud, you've spent 3 points with Barrett, you can use this synergy attack now. And it does become more expensive, so it's not something it's always the same as you use them. But at the same point, it's a really cool way to make these systems make sense so that they flow through each other. So as you're doing all these different things, you're like, okay, well, this helps because I'm constantly building towards the next thing by using what I have here. It's not just that I'm watching another meter build up as I'm attacking. That's building slower than the rest of everything.
Sure.
Do you feel like that's like something you're going to be using a lot, or is it more like the summons in the first game?
But the summons were even lesser used. Like these are even easier to use. It feels like they're just a little slower than your ATB gauge because of the fact of you're having to spend the ATB gauge, and you have to spend it with each character that is a part of the tag team.
Okay. So you feel like you'd probably be using them like you're fighting a boss right now, like you'd use it multiple times during this, or like...
Yes. Yeah, you can use it multiple times during it. And the cool thing with, like I said, what they do to keep you from just spamming it is it costs a little bit more the next time.
Okay.
When you're using these things. So it's one of those things where they do that to keep you from, again, spamming things. Mm. But it feels good. This is this is not actually it. This is just a cutscene. I'll say that we all know this. Square makes some gorgeous games, and all of the moments that happen in it, like it's pretty awesome how they manage to make it flow. Like, and that's maybe just something that they focused on in this game is just the flow, but none of these cutscenes that happen in the middle of the fights feel forced. which isn't something that you always get with a game. A lot of times it breaks up your immersion, whereas Square has just done a very good job of making it flow into it. Beyond that, and this was kind of where I wanted to focus with talking about the game, is the open world, because my first preview was more talking about just, oh, the game is pretty, this is how everything functions, and then a teeny bit about the open world. This one, we got to play a lot of the open world. Once you finish that initial mission, once you finish that initial story mission, you move forward into the City of Calm, and then you move forward into the Grasslands. And the Grasslands is humongous. Like it feels like that they have, and I'm trying to think of the best way to put it, but it feels like they're taking a huge open world and kind of grabbing sections, and you'll be exploring each of these sections of an open world. It does sound like you're going to be able to go back once you've already gone through these areas, like the Grasslands. It still functions, your story still functions as a level. So it seems like you'll finish this and you won't just go to the next section of the open world. It sounds like you're probably going to still have some story-based missions as you go through, but then you'll kind of move into the next big area and then move into the next big area. Maybe that's a thing of like the game loading easier, so you're not having as big of a persistent open world to be in. But they are just, the Grasslands itself felt humongous. Like the chocobos are not in this because, oh, we got to ride chocobos. They're necessary with, like, I started a side mission at a ranch to pick flowers for a girl that's in there to bring so that she can do something with them. And it was on the map, like they were doing that, however many meters away or whatnot on the map, steps, whatever it's actually counting. It said it was like 1,800 steps, miles, whatever away. And it's like, how is this possible? There are some games that you play, some regular video games you play, and that's like a lot of your map. Like, whereas this is like, that's just a section. Like, I really feel like people might think I'm overselling how big Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be. This is going to be massive with a lot of things to explore, to find. They do have towers in this game to help you find the missions, but the towers are not a pain in the butt. It's more go to the tower, activate it, and you're done. It's not like the old climb the tower. Like, you literally just walk up to it and activate it. That's it. And then it reveals stuff in the area for you to go do.
Is there a lot of are those like fast travel points or something, or how does that work?
So one of the cool things with that is there are chocobo stops in the wild, and you have the ability to go in to unlock it. You essentially reaffix the chocobo stop sign. So once you do that, it unlocks it. And one thing that I really like that I can't think off the top of my head of other games that have done it, but when I fast traveled to it, the game asked me, would you like to go on foot or on chocoback? So that way, instead of me having to just fast travel and then immediately have to get back on the chocobo, I was already on the chocobo ready to go to the next place. Like, just little details really help and are very appreciated when you were trying to traverse around and stuff. And it may not be a big thing because you can just whistle and bring the chocobo in, but just the fact that I can just immediately start going is nice.
This might be a little bit in the weeds. I don't know if you can even talk about it. So, like, you mentioned you went to a chocobo ranch. Like, in the original game, you could raise chocobos and stuff. I mean, do you have options to do that? Did it seem involved from what you saw?
So the very first thing you do to unlock chocobo travel is a race. So There will be plenty. I would imagine there will be plenty of races, especially the way that it was set up. That it makes it sound like that throughout the regions you're going to have options for chocobo race. There's couple of different things that I got to do in the demo in the open world. One of the things I was concerned about from my time with the preview was, can they fill the open world? Because the Junon area that you saw in there was only running around and fighting like some specific tougher creatures, where essentially you would go in there would be 3 conditions to get the world intel on those creatures, and you'd have to fight them and like stagger them or do certain things to them to like unlock that intel. And that was the only thing you could do in the original demo in September. Whereas there were 5 or 6 different things in the world of different styles of things I could do beyond just the normal side missions when I went to, when I was in the grasslands. So like one of the things, again, not spoilery or anything, there's like some unlocking Moogle shops. Those things look so weird in
Moogles?
In this game, it's kind of like Sonic. Not, like maybe not the original trailer Sonic, but somewhere in between like movie Sonic and original trailer Sonic. Like they're right in between, because it's like so Kingdom Hearts is where I really discovered a lot of the Final Fantasy stuff. That was my introduction to it. And you know, the Moogles in there were just these like cutesy little things and did the little whistle and everything. But these things were talking and like had feathers or something, and like kind of like I knew what they were, but it was that whole thing of, I've seen Pooh Bear and now I've seen a real bear. Like it's like that shock factor of, okay, this thing looks a lot more real than I remember. But it was,
so you wouldn't let one live at your house.
But it's really fun. Like they had some good little side things, and I'm looking forward to seeing like that the more that they can do, because that again, it took longer to do some of the sections than we would have liked. So I can't wait to get more time in the open world itself, because there was a lot of fun and a lot of exploration to it. Like it wasn't a plain open world. The grasslands was more than just being a grassland. Like when I went up to find those flowers, I had to traverse like a desert area where an old Mako factory was, and the pipe that was running the Mako into the town was. And there was even a mission when I went into the town of getting getting a mercenary's help to fix the pipe because it was leaking Mako. And so it was like all this interconnected kind of going around and whatnot, and just fun. Running around in the world, the encounters with enemies are totally different than they were in Remake, because in Remake it felt like you just couldn't skip fights. Like battles happen whether you like it or not. Here you can actually get away because of an open world. But they also have the benefit of, if you go in and swing first, you are awarded first strike. So they give you a little bit of a bonus for going in first. And it's just neat to go around the world and just see like creatures walking around. Again, game is gorgeous. The environments are extremely detailed in all of these different areas. And there's just tons of different creatures to fight. It's also funny when you get at a distance and they start throwing things at you, like I think it was the orcs. As I was trying to sit back and figure some things out, they're just chucking crap at me. But does
that start the battle?
They don't do that until the battle's already going. Like okay. I had actually you have to actually engage, and they did say on the screen when I was looking at it, like they won't actually, some creatures will not just straight up engage you. Some creatures you have to engage.
Okay.
So like this right here, obviously this is a regular level, so you're going to have to fight the creatures no matter what. Whereas in the other one, you don't have to worry about that.
You know where they got that from, right?
Original Final Fantasy.
Street Fighter 6.
Street Fighter 6.
Yep. The new improved way to do battles.
Did you play any of the mini games? Did they have any?
The only mini game that I got to interact with was I did get to play the card game. I think it's Queen's Blood is the name of it. Like, what's really funny is you go through all of this intense, serious Mount Nebel mission stuff, and like these really heartfelt. Like, if you remember the original story, Tifa's questioning whether Cloud's recollection of the events, and you go through all of this. You go to sleep, you wake up, and then on the door, the innkeeper has left a little baggie or something that has a deck of the cards in it. So it's just like you went through all of this, and it's like, hey man, while you're in town, you want to play some cards? So and it
lowered attention.
It is really awesome though. Like I was having a lot of fun messing around with it. It seems like a really simplistic card game, so I'm curious like the depth that it can get with the way that the board is and whatnot. But I played 2 matches and I lost both matches. But what was funny was the characters. Like one of the things that always gets people about Final Fantasy is the characters. Like the personal stories in here are very real. I love all the characters, Era, Tifa, all of them. If you've already played like the original, if you played remake, you are connected with these characters. But I went to play cards with somebody who was on the map that was designated as, because there are different people, and I guess you actually have like a reputation for the card game, like as like growing in it or whatnot. But I played this guy and his name was Crybaby Ned, and he was literally crying the whole time of his dialogue. He's like, "Do you want to play cards with me?"
Yeah, that sounds like a Japanese character.
The more I cry, the better I play.
Oh, man, that's a good strategy.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, but it fits so well in this game, and it's hilarious. Like, and I don't, maybe like you said, Anthony, maybe that's just a character for a like JRPG. Maybe I'm just so haven't played as many JRPGs, so I don't recognize it as much. Oh, yeah. But it like that kind of stuff, it makes me laugh because I look at that and I think it just the comedicness of everything going on.
It sounds like something you'd find in Yakuza.
Yes,
yeah, they have fun with their throwaway characters.
Yeah, and that's the thing is Crybaby Ned just doesn't feel like a throwaway character, and that's why that's something that I hope extends to even more characters as you go through this game. But it definitely continues these heartfelt stories, these really good feeling things, personal stories. They even go into, and this has been mentioned like in some of the different interviews and whatnot, but there is a relationship meter in the game with the different characters in your party to actually let you know like how your standing is with them. And I don't think it's necessarily romantic as much as it is like how is your friendship.
You know what I'm maxing out.
Wow.
No.
Get that Tifa Cloud action. Let's go.
Yeah. So like they actually give you like a visible meter, you mean? Because
yes, there's actually like it's a little smiley face that is with them. So like
the original and the remake have like invisible versions of that like the side things.
Yeah. So like I did
Sephiroth and
world's first.
and you get cues because like for instance, doing that mission where I picked the flowers for the girl at the ranch, like the little girl at the ranch, it made Aerith happy. Like once I did it, but the cue was there that it would make her happy in the dialogue when the mission was brought to me. So like when it was brought up that was a mission possible, Aerith's like, yeah, we should do it. Don't you always say we should be helping people kind of style thing? And it's like, it's an immediate thing of, if I do this, it's probably going to make Aerith happy, which is going to make the meter better.
It's very realistic.
Yeah, it'll be really fun to see how they incorporate all of it, because that's a very, I love like, not necessarily, I usually like the like Infamous, the moral like meters and stuff like Mass Effect, where your decisions legitimately impact what's going on in the game. And
like that relationship
in Remake, that was kind of there. But like they really have an opportunity to go all out with it here in Rebirth. So it should be a lot of fun to mess around with. One thing that is for certain, I will be taking a lot of pictures. Photo mode is available right away. That was one thing I immediately went and checked for, because I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to my Twitter X, whatever you call it, account, but I am posting tons of screenshots right now from
Twitter. We call it Twitter.
Yeah, I call it Twitter.
On this podcast, it's Twitter.
But
I just made that rule right now.
I've been taking all kinds of screenshots of Final Fantasy Remake because it's just gorgeous, and this game is even more gorgeous. So I'm just going to keep taking a bunch of... Actually, what's funny is I had to keep myself from taking a bunch of shots while I was in the preview, because you're playing on PlayStation. So I'm like, ooh, photo mode. Oh, wait. I can't take... I'm not supposed to do this.
Gets his hand smacked.
Yeah.
No.
The two game directors, the game director and producer were both there, Yoshinori and I can't remember the director's name off the top of my head, but he comes over, no. Stop taking pictures.
Probably use the little stick.
Yep.
Use
the buster. The prop.
Oh yeah.
Jeez, might actually take my hands off.
He'll do the Omni
At least break them.
I'm glad you got out there and got to check it out.
It's great. It really is. One last quick thing on it is photo mode, or not photo mode. Graphics mode is definitely the better mode, and it still feels good. Like I'm not sure if it's 30 frames or if it's actually running uncapped, so it's running higher. But it still felt good compared to, like, I know a lot of people are performance mode snobs, but it still felt good at graphics mode. Performance mode was performance mode was better, but I will say that at least in the build that we played, it did feel like there was a noticeable drop in graphical fidelity. So, and I know that's
performance mode you're talking about?
Performance mode, yeah. So, like, and
is.
That's obvious usually, but in a game like Final Fantasy, it really feels like visuals are just so important and great in these games. So, if they're doing a good job with it, it's worth sticking with it. And graphics mode was really good. So I will say that is I highly recommend playing in graphics mode. Test them both, but I think graphics mode is going to be the better mode to play.
Yeah, I played at 60.
Yeah.
Give Jack all the fun. No, what would you choose?
Performance.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, easy.
Oh, Anthony, you gotta go.
Anthony's not going to play it at all because he doesn't have a PS5.
Yeah, I think it depends on the game. I genuinely think it depends on the game. This game, I don't think I would mind playing in graphics mode. I don't think I would mind playing.
A lot of cinematic games feel okay. Like it's just because of the nature of the game. Cinematic usually doesn't suffer as much.
If it still looks clean,
yeah,
I'll take the higher frame rate.
I felt like it did.
Okay.
I know I said one last thing, but I do have another thing, and it's just about the open world is the feeling. Most people know with Final Fantasy, like there was always been that feeling of the grind, and that was like a big thing of, man, I've got to get past this boss. I got to go back, do some things, get myself to the level. And that is back here because of the open world. Like there was a boss at the end of the game that I got to fight, and I was underleveled and didn't have the right equipment and stuff. And in Remake, that wasn't there. You could go from point A to point B. You're going to get to that level. The only real thing that you could do is use different materia. Whereas here, it definitely felt like a lot more of, okay, maybe I should go back and do some side quests, do some things that can benefit me to fight back against these things, as well as obviously get new materia and such. So it's nice to be playing this and have that old school Final Fantasy feel back with that grind. Like it's that the grind isn't always bad. It's just the way it's presented, and the way they have presented it.
Label like, for if you're doing a story mission or something, did they tell you like what level you're supposed to be to do it, or like do you have any indication?
I don't remember seeing that.
Okay.
So I don't know
Show
that they
up
give
to
you
the
an
level 1
indication
boss,
on it.
level 99.
Yeah.
It felt like you just kind of, it felt like it was still that remake natural, just, okay, here's a marker,
Okay.
go to it. But I didn't look heavily into the actual like menu to see if the story had a recommendation for it. I feel like it's more of a, if I went back and got more powerful, it would work. But they could be in there. I just don't remember looking at it.
I imagine it feels good too, because especially in the open world, you can choose your battles. So it's not like you're playing the original Final Fantasy and you walk 3 steps and you're in another fight and all your party members are low on health and you're just going to have to end up going back to the kingdom you last saved at. So
everyone got turned into frogs.
Slowly but surely. So yeah, I can imagine that the grind feels much better here because you get to control how you want to grind. That's always a good thing.
But yeah, as of the time of this releasing, Final Fantasy VII's Rebirth review is now up on Gaming Trend.
Very nice.
So,
all right.
Go check it out.
We will. All right. Well, everything podcast related was delayed this week. If you pay attention to the show, you were like, where's the podcast? So at the time of the recording, I uploaded it. I uploaded last week's today, which was supposed to be Monday. But that's because I was busy helping the other David at Gaming Trend, David Flynn, play some Granblue Fantasy Relink. And you know what? Sorry, I didn't care. This game is fun. I was having a great time doing it. I was like, sorry, podcast. You just going to have to wait a little bit because I'm having a fantastic time playing this game. So what's interesting about this, I guess in contrast or comparison to Final Fantasy VII, where the combat, it's smooth, it's buttery, it feels good and all that. You can feel the hits and things like that. This one, it's got the smoothness. It's got butter. Oh man, it feels really good. I'm playing on PC. I was getting probably 120 frames off of this. And, it feels really, really good. You can look at the screen right now. Sorry for the podcast listener, but there's all kinds of crap happening on the screen and it is nice. They bring out the anime in this, which is really cool because, if you're unfamiliar with Granblue, which I only got familiar with it last year, it's a very anime kind of video game. So it started off as a mobile game, really became popular with the fighting game version, Granblue Fantasy Versus, and then they redid Versus with Rising, and now they have Relink, and they've basically taken everything from the fighting game and kind of repackaged it into a fully 3D game. All the characters are 3D. Some of their moves that they use in the fighting game have been repurposed in a 3-dimensional fashion. And it looks really cool. And it is anime as frick. So it's nice to be able to play something that it's just like, oh yeah, they just lean all the way into this thing. And it runs so smooth. But that's the crux of this. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we spent the necessary time for Final Fantasy VII. But this game it's just fighting, and it's really simple, and it's really easy to do stuff, and it doesn't get terribly difficult until much later into the end game. But the entire time, there's those beat 'em ups, or there's games like these action RPGs where you kind of feel like you're doing the same move over and over, and that can feel kind of boring at times. I don't know if you guys have felt that. This is that.
Yeah, it's in a lot of JRPGs.
Yeah, this is that, but for whatever reason, it never gets boring. And I don't know if it's the character I specifically played, but I chose Zeta as my main character. As my main character. She has this move where she kind of like hits a character and then flies back, and then you can dive back into the character and basically like keep repeating it, and the damage continues to increase as you do it. And for me, like it's this mini game that's happening within the combat. And that's interesting because I'm like, ooh, how many hits can I get before, I miss the attack? So it's like I'm always challenging myself to get as many hits and get as much damage as possible with this repeatable move. So that's with that specific character. I didn't play a whole bunch of characters. I'm about to start doing that. But from the other characters that I have touched, they all play so differently, which is a breath of fresh air. I wasn't sure what that was going to be like, but they all play very different. Some are super slow, hit hard. Some are very fast. They don't hit hard. Some are, kind of your mage types based on healing, a lot of long range attacks, different things like that. Some of their moves come out a little bit slower. Your timings have to be a little bit better with some characters. So they all play very differently. You can't go from one character and just mash the button and expect like everything to happen. It's a mashy game. You could certainly mash, but you're not going to get the full benefit with all the characters just by mashing. So, it's an action RPG. So you're fighting mobs, you're fighting bosses, and like you played Diablo 4, you played any of the Diablos, like it's a very much simplified version of that. There's no real like long dungeons or anything that end with a boss. They have the story campaign, which leans into the anime stuff. They have, voiced characters. They have some cutscenes, but those are basically your dungeons. And once you're done with the campaign, your end game is basically kind of doing all the story missions or like specific bosses or fighting just a bunch of mobs in increasingly difficult ways. And you're earning materials in order to upgrade your weapons or get new characters or a variety of other things. So it's super simple in concept, but I can't put it down. Like I just love playing it. I'm trying to find all the people I could play with on this because co-op is a lot of fun. Me and David played, and just with us two, like it was just so much more fun to do it with somebody else. I think one of the more interesting things is you have a super move, and if you time the super move, if everybody has their meter full and everybody times their super move, you kind of do this like collective 4-person attack. And when you're playing co-op, it's easier to mess it up, but it's also more satisfying at the same time because, you're kind of talking, me and David weren't talking, but as soon as he used his move, I was like, all right, it's time, it kind of brings a little anticipation with it. So even without all the voice cues and stuff that you could have, there's a lot of different ways you can do things to team up, and it just feels so satisfying to do it. So yeah, I played the demo and it was fun. I went to the preview event. It was fun. I didn't honestly expect it to be this fun. I really didn't. I was like, yeah, I'm going to have a good time with this. I did not expect I would just want to keep playing this over and over again. And really like try to buff everything and get all my characters up to level 100. But that's what I feel right now. It's a really good game. I think I wouldn't necessarily call it mindless. You could kind of play it in a mindless action way to a certain point. Once it gets to the more extreme difficulties, then you really have to start thinking. But yeah, in terms of a game that you could kind of button mash a little bit, have a good time with your friends. It's easy to get into. It's almost, just you don't even have to understand the story and stuff. There's plenty of ways to get caught up if you want to, but even if you don't, you just like anime fighting and stuff like that. Like this is absolutely worth it. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of something I almost can't explain. It's just a lot of freaking fun. So, and I guess just because I'm familiar with this game and to the extent that like Platinum Games used to be the developer for this game, like because this game's been like in development for like 6-7 years or something crazy like that.
and Platinum Games, who did like Bayonetta and that kind of stuff, they got fired like 2 years into it.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah. And so when you're saying it's mostly combat, I mean, is it like all combat? Like there's not like levels? It's like you're just fighting guys pretty much and you're collecting treasure? Because that's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah. The campaign, which I'm not showing for spoiler reasons, but
okay.
Yeah, there's the campaign. It lasts, it took me probably 15 hours because I watched all the cutscenes, I listened to everything. Okay. So it took me a little longer, but that stuff is more of like the dungeon type of stuff.
Okay.
So you're kind of running through, you fight a mob, you beat the mobs, you fight a mini boss, you're running through, I mean, that is very ARPG-ish.
I guess what I'm wondering is like, does it feel like an actual like full RPG, or is it kind of just a lot of combat stuff?
Oh, in terms of like the RPG stuff,
yeah,
it's simplified. It is very simplified. I don't know if you've played the original Granblue Fantasy Versus. So the
fighting game, yeah.
So they take that RPG element and repurpose it into Relink and made it way better and actually useful. So again, like upgrading weapons, like in Granblue Fantasy Versus, like you had to get like 1 billion weapons to upgrade your actual weapons. Like it was just a weird system. It didn't make any sense. This is like, no, you need a certain amount of materials to upgrade your weapon. If you don't have that, you can't. And you can forge new weapons and upgrade those. You can, they do have a skill tree. The skill tree though is not as in depth as like a Diablo or maybe a Path of Exile or even like a Borderlands. It is more so just a method to unlock buffs. So really you're looking to unlock everything in the skill tree, and it goes really long. So that's what it's not really to make builds, for example. Okay. You can do builds in this, but it's more so builds that you use to combine with the rest of your party. So every character has an element attached to them: fire, earth, all that kind of stuff, water, and certain enemies and bosses have the weaknesses. So you could choose certain moves or certain characters that can fit against those things. And then you can also choose moves that might combine with other people very well. And then in terms of your weapon choices and whatnot, that's pretty simple, but certain weapons do have benefits that come with them. So maybe you do more stun damage, or maybe you do more crit damage. So the kind of weapon you also choose goes with that. So, but it's not deep.
I was kind of like wondering because when I think of a Platinum game, it's like you're kind of going in straight lines, just killing enemies all the time. And so I guess I wasn't sure if that was all this one is, or like how involved it was, or like if it was a full RPG or not.
Yeah, it's not like a full RPG, but it has some RPG elements in it. It's not deep. But you can put some thought into it if you really wanted to like min-max your damage, which when you get into the end game, you kind of start having to do that if you really want to get that far. But you don't have to. That's kind of the nice thing. There's enough characters where it's just like, if you get to the part where it's just like, I don't feel like dealing with anything too tough and whatnot. I mean, there's plenty of characters you can play as, and it would take a while for you to get to, the much higher levels where it starts getting difficult. So there's plenty of fun. And then you can start a whole new file. Like they have 3 save files. So like you want to really start all the way over, go for it. So it's beefy. It's a beefy game. There's a lot to it. It's simplistic, but it's so satisfying as well. Like it's the nice kind of simplistic.
That's cool.
It's nice. I've been waiting for a Granblue game in the genre that I'm willing to go into or that I've played before. So I'm not a fighter gamer at all.
You're a lover, I know.
Very much so. Yeah, I love the visual art style of Granblue, especially in the anime. And so I heard that, you know, they were making like an RPG action-ish 3D game, and now that it's finally out and we're getting to see what it's like, and a lot of people are saying really good things, it makes me very happy.
Yeah,
I'm glad it turned out okay.
Yeah, I had imagined it was going to be good. I did not know it was going to be as good as it is. So, and also as much as there is to do. But Noah, if you get it on PC. Oh, you don't have a PC, do you?
10 points for Gryffindor.
I can't find anybody who has it on PC. God, freaking PlayStation marketing.
They should have crossplay.
They don't, for whatever reason. That's one of the downsides. It does not have crossplay. I don't know if they plan on adding it later, but as of right now, yes, it does not have.
If they want $70 out of me, they will. So.
Yeah, seriously. That's the only disappointment. My brother had to buy 2 copies so he could play with me. So he was fine with it because he was like, yeah, he played 25 hours of the demo, so he was already sold.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, he was ready to go. But yeah, no, it's a fun game. I really do enjoy it. I would encourage anybody who just likes action, even if you just like action like this, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. All right. So, you know what? We were gonna talk State of Play next, but you know what? Let's do the Wheel of Questions before we do State of Play. Let's have a little fun here. All right, let me put up.
Finally, we can have fun.
Yeah. Video games. Gosh, who wants to do that? All right, we'll spin the wheel. Let's see what question we get.
Wow, that is.
Of course, this is the first question. All right, so
there's a conspiracy.
I did not do anything for this question. All right, there's backstory to this. So
if this was a product placement plug, if we could be sponsored, that would have been perfect.
I know, it would be great.
This podcast brought to you by Manscaped.
Yeah. Exactly. So
what's funny is I think they actually did hit us up once.
Oh, did they?
I think at least once. But here you go. Here you get a chance again. Go ahead and hit us up again, Manscaped.
Yeah, right. This would be perfect. Yeah. So basically, I was talking with my brother, and he started telling me about how he used Manscaped, and I was like, "Yo, like, okay, good for you. I would never try that." So I had to ask. We're on a podcast with a bunch of guys. Would you ever shave your crotch?
I'll go first.
No. Oh, go ahead.
Everybody's too scared to, I guess.
Yeah, nobody's scared. Come on.
No, because I'm not even going to take the chance. I'm just going to use the hair removal, like, cream lotion.
No, that sounds even worse.
No.
He's going to burn it off.
Scorched earth policy.
Bro, just drop some gasoline down, drop a match, and
that sounds awful.
Okay. Would you rather eat a spicy chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A or chew with a bunch of knives in your mouth? Like, I don't want blades near it. I'll take a little heat to avoid blades around my crotch.
Yeah, it's just a little heat.
If I'm how sensitive are your balls? Like, am I the outlier here? I feel like.
Well,
what do you mean how sensitive? On my side.
Every guy.
This is gonna sound really funny. Trim yes, shave no. Like Noah said, I got to be very careful at not being too close.
You'd have the pricklies.
But your answer is no, right? You would not shave.
No, not on full on shave. No.
Okay.
Yeah, no. 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 Yeah, blade. I'm with you on the blades part because all it takes is just one nick and it's
or I could
over.
Get really creative and do it like a bonsai tree and just like
it's a lot of effort.
That does
sound it's dedication.
You know? I feel like you would have a whole problem with that. Like there's all kinds of risk.
It's just a funny concept though.
It is. It is a weird concept, but hey, apparently it's big enough. Like you think something like Manscaped comes around, it's like nobody's going to do that, and then you realize, wait, they're still around. they're still selling this stuff.
They're doing good because everybody and their friend's channel is sponsored by it.
That or they're not doing good, and that's why they're having to sponsor all these streams.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Jack, you never answered.
What does it say about the market, though, of like people watching YouTube videos that they got to like buy out these specific sponsors? Like, these are the people that are going to shave down there. but my answer is no. I'm way too lazy. I can't even like keep up with shaving here. So
you're doing all right, unless your face hair doesn't grow that much.
You can tell when days I like have to go to court and which days I don't.
Okay. That's a good point.
That's almost the exact same thing of like when I don't shave, you can tell when I have to do the sermon at church and when I don't.
I think a little face hair is all right, as long as it's upkept. Yeah, so that and he just brought it up to me. I was like, okay. I just like when do you?
I just asked you what you wanted from Wendy's. Like that's you didn't have to go there.
I just don't know when you would actually decide. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. Today is the day. What do you feel that is like? It's got to go.
Put it on the calendar. Just mark it date.
CS. All right. All right. Well, don't worry, David. That question's off the platter now.
It was the horror of crap. It's that question, but then followed by the relief of we don't have to answer that again. If it pops up again next week, I'm gonna be asking questions.
He's gonna want receipts,
bro. This ain't the wheel no more.
Week, that means we got sponsored.
You have to come up with a different answer next week.
Yeah, right. More,
for a yes or no question, I wonder which one.
All right, David, I'll let you lead the state of play stuff.
State of play. Okay, so there was a state of play the other day, and like honestly, this almost felt more showcase, to be honest with you, because this was much more meaty than most of the state of plays that we've gotten recently. Like, we've gotten decent ones, but it's like they've always been these shorter programs where you get like 20, 30 minutes. There's a lot of indie kind of stuff, and not that indie stuff is bad. It's just sometimes some of these shows feel like they're really scraping at like anything they can get in the show or whoever's going to pay them the money for it. But this time, it really felt like Sony was like, look, we haven't done anything in a while. We need to show off why you should have a PlayStation. And there were some really good things here. We still need more first party. Like we've talked about that before. We really don't know what Sony first party's doing at the moment. But we had a lot of really good just Sony partners. Not just that they're third party. These are like funded games from Sony. So
did everybody watch it? I didn't.
I watched it. I watched it live, but okay, I always do.
I've been seeing a lot of people saying they were disappointed in it.
I don't know how you're disappointed in it, like especially given the state of plays. Like this is one of their best state of plays.
So is it that the others have been bad? So now that you have
lower expectations.
Feels good.
Well, it is. There are lower expectations, but I mean, this was generally good video games. Like these were good video games that got shown off. Stuff that you can be excited about.
Yeah, and
and I get that it won't fit everybody's cup of tea, but these were good.
Well, it's like just because we didn't get a ton of first party, reveals or anything, that doesn't make it a bad showcase.
Well, you always hit if it is, it's people that are silly, honestly, because I didn't figure that we would get anything of first party nature. I felt like they would call out if it was specifically if they're going to have a lot of first party there, and they didn't. So
yeah, my
makes
criteria for these kinds of things is always like, is there games I actually want to play? Because that's never a guarantee for any of these. And I mean, I was satisfied with it. I mean, I would say it's at least equivalent to the Xbox show in terms of quality stuff. So I mean, it seemed good.
Yeah, I said
you mean to say it was only as good as X? Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
I gave it a A-.
Well, this one has Sonic the Hedgehog in it, so that's a B+, A-.
Automatically.
So starting out, and I don't believe this is in any particular order. I don't think it's like actually an order of the actual announcements. But let me go. I'm gonna drop towards the bottom of this and go back to the top because it feels like they had the bigger stuff at the top. Until Dawn is getting a remake. Another one of those things that you don't think maybe needs one, but it is getting one. It's from Studio Ballistic Moon. There's actually some rumors that Ballistic Moon has actually been acquired by Sony last year, so it'd be very interesting if this is kind of are they going to be similar to Blue Point in remaking, remastering, maybe bringing back series, something like that. You never know.
Noah, you were shaking your head about Until Dawn not needing a remake.
Well, it doesn't. I did hear though that it looks like this is more than just a regular remaster in the sense that they're actually looking to add some like new story to it. Maybe there was some cut content or whatnot that they're going to be putting in the game. Maybe this is almost a director's cut more than it is just a remaster. So, if you're a fan of that game, then that's a cool thing to me. Again, I don't think it was the star of the show. I didn't really play a lot of it, but I thought it was cool with the little bit I played.
Like when I played it Until Dawn, I think this was like one of the last games I did for Silicon Era, but like I finished it and like, this is one of the few games I felt where I didn't feel like this needed to be a video game. And if it was like a movie, I think everyone would hate it. So
what's fun is I think they said that I think there was a rumor somewhere that they're looking at this being picked up to be a movie.
Yeah,
funny enough. So like it would make sense. That would make sense as to why they're remastering it. Because
once it gets bad reviews, then my dream will come true.
Yeah, but then it'll become a cult classic. So
I watched a playthrough.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I don't.
So you saw the movie version,
basically, and then we're getting a better quality picture, when the remake comes out. So it's like,
yeah.
No, all right, there you go.
And possibly again some story tweaks. So it'd be neat if they're adding in again, if you're doing like a director's cut kind of thing. I mean, Zack Snyder gets away with it. Why can't they? Yeah,
and the game is already like 6 hours long, so it's a Zack Snyder movie.
Next up, Rise of the Ronin. Something I thought that was really cool that Sony decided to do in this showcase was that they did extended looks. Like these weren't just new trailers for these games. They gave us actual like talk over, like developer giving some insight,
like a dev diary.
Like a little dev diary. So it was more than just a regular trailer. It gave you, this is what the game is. And that's something that I'd like to see more of because I don't feel like enough. I feel like more people just give you these vague trailers and flashy, like
you're talking about in general or just
CG in general, because it feels like we get a lot of non-explained games. Whereas this, you get actual, like, this is what you're doing in this game. This is how you do this. Like, and you don't have to do it in this like 20-minute thing. You can do a quick, this is what, like maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And it's a really good explanation as to what they're doing in the game.
This looks so Koei Tecmo though.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I mean, the jank is Koei Tecmo.
Yep.
The look of it feels all of it, but I don't know.
It's made from Team Ninja. This is their jump into like from Neo and Wulong into this. It's like that. To me, it feels like they took Neo and put it in Ghost of Tsushima. Like, because that's essentially what this is like a Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, I love Ghost of Tsushima. So
yeah, it looks cool, and I mean, it's kind of like Neo. I mean, it looks more faster, like it's faster, more involved. It's not like the Souls kind of thing where you're like it's clunky necessarily moving. And he's got the grapple hook where he's flying around. So I like that they're branching out a little bit. I mean, the Team Ninja that I like is the Ninja Gaiden Team Ninja.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Back when they made good games, that's.
I don't know how I missed the video clip with the flamethrower.
you kind of stunned me when you brought Ninja Gaiden 3. I had to think about that.
I'm not wrong.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct.
I do like aspects of the combat, though. It does feel like the AI. It almost feels like a fighting game. Almost like you can't just go in and just do stuff. Like especially this part right here.
There's a lot of thought to what you're doing.
Yeah. For a second, I was like, "Is this dude playing like another human?" Like the way they're reacting, kind of the way they're blocking and clashing and things like that. I'm like, it feels like, you're playing an actual somebody else, which is a nice feeling to have. I wish more, fighting, these kind of games, these action games had AI that acted smarter.
Yep. Well, I don't think it'll necessarily get there, but like, we can't forget that Sekiro managed to win Game of the Year when it came out. So there's a big market for this, and this could be really good.
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. I'm excited. It looks promising. I like the gameplay. It's very fast.
Well, with Team Ninja, you're going to get fun gameplay. Like they have a thing with figuring out fun gameplay loops. And this with like all of these different traversal options, all of these different combat options, like it just seems like there's a lot going on to keep things varied. So you're not doing the exact same thing over and over.
It looks like it. March 22nd, 2024.
Yep. The other thing that's coming out March 22nd is Dragon's Dogma 2, and we saw another trailer for Dragon's Dogma 2. And I'm not as familiar with this game, but I'll say this: it looks really good. Like that's the easiest way to say it is it looks really good.
What are your thoughts on it, Jack?
I'm super excited. I mean, so Dragon's Dogma is like a weird game where I think if you look at the first one, it's kind of unappealing. Like if you look at it, you can't really understand it unless you actually play it. Because it's like it's an ugly game, and like it's not in a very interesting fantasy world. And
what do you mean by ugly? This doesn't look ugly.
No, I'm talking about the first game. And so
the first one did look a little janky.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
And so like, but if you actually play it, it's like one of the most smartly designed games ever. I feel like it's got like the way it sells its fantasy world, and like in terms of like the enemies, like, you're walking around a path, and because a lot of like open worlds, it's kind of like, here's a bunch of stuff and you just walk it. It doesn't really matter where you're going. Mm-hmm. But the way they design their world in this game is like, if you go on the normal path and it's generally safe, and you go outside the outskirts, it gets more and more dangerous. And it's like, it feels like a real like world where you're really going out into the wild and you're in danger all the time. And you have to like keep track of like, not just yourself, but your party and all this kinds of stuff. It's really, but yet at the same time, it's not like it's complicated. It's kind of like an arcade beat 'em up combat. Like it's kind of like Devil May Cry sensibilities to the combat, but that's with all this like, with like all this depth to the world in terms of like just making it feel like it's an exciting and fun game to explore. And so when you see Dragon's Dogma 2, I mean, a lot of it kind of feels like Dragon's Dogma 1, but with like a budget and like time to like actually finish it. So like it looks great. And I mean, it's all the features and new like classes and stuff we're talking about look great. I mean, it looks really fun. I mean, it's kind of like the dream version of Dragon's Dogma.
I'm glad like you said it's more action beat 'em up, because I was wondering if it was more Dark Soulsy, because it just kind of had that feel, but I guess not. I don't know anything about Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of compare it to Dark Souls, but it's not meant, because Dark Souls, the way those games are made, they're kind of meant to troll you a little bit.
I've always heard more Monster Hunter, like in regards to this, like
It's more arcadey, and it gives you more options to survive. It's not out to kill you right away. I mean, there's some challenging parts to it, but
sure.
Like with the creatures you fight, you can actually climb around on like their backs and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can go do all kinds of crazy stuff.
That's what when I say Monster Hunter, like that's part of it. So
sure, yeah. Okay. It looks fun. I didn't know this is what Dragon's Dogma. I actually thought it was like an RPG, like a Western RPG, but I guess not.
I mean, visually, it tries to be that, but
it's a Japanese take on a Western RPG.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
that's fair. No, okay. I'm gonna check. I hope it's coming to PC.
I think it is. Yeah,
I'm almost 100% sure it is.
All right.
Yeah, it is. It's coming to PC.
Excellent.
One of the unexpected announcements that we got was Metro Awakening. There's a new Metro game coming out, and it's for PlayStation VR. It's from a VR studio called Vertigo Games. I fondly remember the other Metro games, loved the Metro series. This interesting survival shooter where it's based off of a book series called Metro 2033, where you're surviving in this post-apocalyptic Fallout type world. And like, as much as I love the series, I don't know that I want it on my face, because one of the very last clips in that trailer is of something jumping at your face, and I hate that. And Same. I don't know if I can handle that. And, it's just these mutant creatures and stuff. So it's going to be crazy. But like, if they can retain the storytelling, like as long as this doesn't become just another spin-off shooter, like, and they can retain the storytelling that's in the Metro games, like this will be a very good VR game. Like the story is the reason that series is so good, because you just love the characters, you love paying attention to what's going on, and then they can really do something great with this. My curiosity, of course, would be is Awakening going to lead into the next game? Are they going to somehow find a way to tie it in? Because one would assume that 4A, I think it is working on the next Metro game, because they've been working on it for a while, because Exodus came out the same week, day, or month as Anthem, so it's been a second.
Oh, wow!
So they've got some work to do, and hopefully we'll see the next new Metro game. But a lot of times you wonder if these kind of things are the prime the pump kind of thing, of somebody had an idea, they turned it into something, and isn't going to come out. But this actually comes out quickly. It's in 2024. It's kind of crazy that they announced it so quickly. So
sweet.
One of my games that I am most anticipating, I don't know that it comes out this year, but I hope it does. Judas, coming from Ken Levine, the BioShock creator. His new studio, Ghost Story Games, which is Take-Two, is helping with this.
This looks like BioShock 4.
Man, I am you could have tiled it Shia Bach for, and I would have gone for it, man. Like, I don't care. Like, they can do whatever they want. Ken Levine is an incredible storyteller. I've heard he's a bit of a character behind the scenes, and
sure he is.
I hear he demands perfection, and part of the reason BioShock Infinite took so long to come out is because he kept not being happy with things and wanting to change certain things. So I hope that doesn't happen with this. I loved BioShock Infinite.
Okay.
The original BioShock is still, in my opinion, the best one. BioShock Infinite and 2, and BioShock 2 is number 3. That does not mean BioShock 2 is a bad game. It just means it is not as good as the other two. Because you've got the 10, the 9.5, and the 9.
I think I like 2 the best.
Oh. Contrarian, I see there, Jack.
Contrarian.
But this stuff, you watch the gameplay here. This is BioShock. Like, that makes me happy though, because we don't have a lot of these kind of games anymore. Like, I just don't see a lot of these kind of games out there.
we had not Atlas.
Was it Atomic Heart?
Atomic Heart. That's
Atomic
the
Heart.
That's the closest we've had to it.
But
And
there's
even
another
that
game
kind of like BioShock,
coming
right?
for Xbox. I think it was a steampunk-ish kind of game. I forget the name of it, but there's that one. And now Judas.
Yeah, like I said, it's been a second, and this is just I'm a big BioShock stan, so I just can't wait for this. Like I've been waiting a very long time for anything BioShock oriented, and this is going to be as close as I get right now. I love the fact that it's taking place on a space station. He's gone to these different settings, and it's worked. So I'm really excited to see what he does in this setting. Like apparently
he took you underwater, he took you into the air. Where else is there to go?
Space.
Apparently
you're in this place and you're trying to watch out for people that might betray you or something like that. I mean, that would be part of the whole Judas idea. So just again, some very interesting ideas that he has when it comes to telling a story that I can't wait to see. The biggest thing is I feel like I get to that reveal in his games and my mind is just blown. Like that, it's kind of like watching the Prestige or Inception and these things where you just get these moments of, oh my goodness, that's what was happening. And Ken Levine does a very good job of telling these stories where you just don't know what's happening, and when you realize it, it's just like, man, he's been telling us this the whole time and we didn't get it. Like, would you kindly? Like that is one of the greatest.
In BioShock. I didn't feel like I got that as much in BioShock Infinite. I felt like he tried.
That was more of a, it almost felt like you had to get to the end of the game to get it. Like, because at the end of the game, that reveal was pretty intense.
Sure,
the whole Comstock stuff and the final baptism, as it were.
But I really like the tagline on this: "Fix what you broke." I was like, "Oh, what does that mean?"
I am interested.
It really got my attention.
You can ask Noah. I was giddy with glee when we were watching Game Awards in the theater in 2022, and the first trailer happened. It was right after he was giddy with glee because of Hades. So it's like we were both immediately giddy with glee about video. It was like the very beginning of the show. Like, man, we can leave now. we're both happy. One that is a little more controversial, Silent Hill 2 got a, of all things, combat reveal trailer.
Oh, I forgot to download that one. Holy crap.
So look it up. Apparently they are going more Resident Evil with this because you got to be able to shoot things. And I don't know anything about Silent Hill.
Well,
but I know enough to know that this does not seem to be what you're supposed to be doing in Silent Hill.
Let's combine both the Silent Hill topics. I
go
think
ahead.
we should do that.
And then the other thing that happened was they really quickly put out a game called Silent Hill: The Short Message. It's actually free to play. It's out now. It is a PT style game. So very interesting that, of course, they led with the Silent Hill: The Short Message, which sounds like it was probably the better idea. What I did find really funny about Silent Hill 2 is at the end it said in development. We didn't get a date. So they're still working on it. And that's kind of surprising that, but it's been announced for a while, and it was kind of surprising because you felt like it was
Blueberry said it was done like last year.
It's like, I think they even said that it's supposed to be this year, and we got nothing. Like they didn't even put at the end 2024. So it does make you a little, which, like I said, Jack seems like he has thoughts. So let's let Jack give us his thoughts here.
I sure do. So
I sure do. I love it. Get in here.
So the problem with Silent Hill and with Konami in general is, like all their iconic franchises from the 2000s, Silent Hill, Metal Gear, Castlevania, all that stuff. All of those were successful because they were attached to specific creators. Obviously Metal Gear Kojima, and Castlevania had Koji Igarashi with the Metroidvania Castlevanias, and then Silent Hill had Team Silent. And so over the past 15 years, they've kind of systematically gotten rid of all of their creators, but they're still left with the franchises. And so for Silent Hill, I think it's tough. Like I'm a big Silent Hill fan, I'd say, at least with the first 4 games where Team Silent made them. And after that, it's kind of like being a Silent Hill fan is almost like a burden, where like they release new things and it's like, well, here we go again.
I have to ask, what did you think of PT, Kojima coming to that project back then?
So I think with PT and really if everything they release is Silent Hill, it doesn't feel like Silent Hill. And I was okay with PT because Kojima makes cool games. I'm excited for that. And so that's kind of the way I look at all this new Silent Hill stuff, is like, well, maybe it's cool, but it's probably not Silent Hill. So like they released the short message game, and I actually played that all yesterday. And then they also have the Silent Hill 2 remake. And yeah, so like like David said, it's the short message is kind of like, oh yeah, we had PT and that was really popular, so let's try to do that as a new game. And the way this is the official gaming trend review of Silent Hill, whatever it was called.
That's not good if you can't even remember what it was called after 2 seconds after saying the title.
It's like a 3-hour game. No, probably less than that. It felt like 3 hours, but I think it was shorter. And
what do you mean I played 20 minutes?
Well, and so I didn't hate it, but I also don't like it. So that's in summary of it. But so, I mean, there's 2 sections to it, right? So there's one is that you're walking around slowly, just kind of like the game like feeds you the story. Like you look at items and stuff and like, here's the story. And then the other section is like monsters attack you and you have to run away from the monsters and like go through a maze or whatever. And then you get to the end. And so the entire game is segmented into 2 spots like this. And it kind of alternates in between those different styles. So like when I think about Silent Hill, what makes the first 4 Silent Hill games good is that, they have a unique sense of horror to them. Like you see the monsters or you see different rooms and it's creepy, but you don't also really understand what you're looking at. There's kind of an ambiguity to the horror of it, right?
Well, that's certainly there.
Well,
at least in this.
We'll get to the Silent Hill 2 remake. We'll get to that. And in the short message, what really stands out to me is nothing about it is ambiguous at all. It is very in your face. Like it's so concerned that you won't get it. And, I'm not even, normally I wouldn't talk about the story and stuff, but it spoils what the entire story is about in the first second by giving you a content warning before you even start the game saying, warning, this game has themes of like suicide, bullying, and violence. And so that's what the entire game's about, is like you're like a teenage girl and you're kind of dealing with like her trauma of like bullying and suicidal thoughts and that kind of thing. And so that's the premise. And it's just like you're walking and you're looking at stuff and she'll like spell out how she's feeling about every little thing she looks at. She's like, oh, this makes me sad, or like this makes me, oh, I wish my friend liked me more, that kind of stuff. And it's like if you're playing a normal Silent Hill game, like even the Silent Hill 2 remake, I'm sure is like, they don't just tell you what the story is. Like they don't just put like, they don't just like say, here's the dialogue, here's what it is. They don't tell you how James is feeling about every little thing.
There's no tension, it sounds like.
Right. Well, here. So, I mentioned the content warnings too. So like, I think in some ways it's kind of admirable that they're doing a story that tackles these themes. And I think in some ways it's effective too. Like here's the praise I'll give it, is that I think the sound design and like the general aesthetic of it is pretty good. It's pretty effective. For the most part, and it like blends in some like real life footage too. It's kind of creepy and it's interesting. It's kind of cool, but the story is just not good. It's just so overt and in your face, and it's like almost amateurish. Like it's not Silent Hill. It's some weird psychological in your face horror thing that's so scared that you won't get it. But then it also undermines itself. So like there's, you know, who cares about spoiling this thing? But there's like a scene where, you know, so like there's the content warning, and then a big part of the game is like each chapter is split up where like the teenage girl kills herself at the end of each chapter, but then she like revives at the end. Oh. So it's like the first time you see it, it's like, oh, this is really shocking and interesting they would go this far. But then the moment it happens, they give you a content warning saying this game has like themes of suicide. If you need help, call this number.
But they have another content warning inside of it?
Yes, they keep doing it. They keep doing it every time something extreme happens, and it's like you're undermining the horror every single time you do this, because you can't just immerse yourself in the game. It's like we're so worried about getting sued or something, we got to keep shoving this content warning in your face. It's like it's almost like a parody, but so it's if you talk and so like. I don't know. It doesn't feel like Silent Hill, but I think there's like a framework of a decent horror game. Except the chase stuff is really annoying too, because you're like, the way it works is like there's a flower monster that like eats you if you get too close to it. Like if you bump into it, you instantly die and you got to restart from the beginning of the maze. And so you do that, and the first few times it's kind of whatever. But eventually it just gets so annoying because you can barely tell where you're going because everything's so dark, and you're like twisting and turning, and the maze gets really elaborate, and you just got to kind of memorize where you're supposed to go. I almost gave up at the very last one just because like, you know, I just don't care anymore. I gave it one more shot and I made it. And it's like, you know, it's not like a fun challenge, it's just kind of like a time waster almost. Like you just kind of
it is
memorizing and doing it. It sure is free. Yeah, I think that was a good decision on their end. It sure is free. So, and what really shocked me more than any of the shocking imagery at the end was that you look at the credits, and the composer is Akira Yamaoka, who did all the original Silent Hill games. So it's like, oh, that's why the sound design is like decent. Is like he did all the sound, he did all the music, and like, oh, so that's like authentic Silent Hill. And then the creature design is done by Masahiro Ito, who is the artist from the original Silent Hill game. So it's like they got like the cred from like getting these guys back, but they like totally waste it with this just terrible story. That's not like, I mean, I don't know. It's difficult to do Silent Hill because just like whoever's doing the Metal Gear stuff is like, you know, you can't.
You ain't Kojima. You don't stand a chance.
You're not these guys, and it's good, I guess, to be like not even pretend to be, but at the same time, it's like this isn't it. Like if this is what the Silent Hill F is like, it's like, you know, F that. But
he's already got his subtitle ready, boys.
But you know, I guess what really annoyed me about it too is like the story themes, they want to be like Silent Hill, and how they interpret what being Silent Hill is like, oh, I have this trauma and I'm like amnesiac about it. I don't quite remember everything that happened to me. And at the end, here's a shocking plot twist of what happened. And that's what they think Silent Hill is, but that's what Silent Hill 2 is. And that's only what Silent Hill 2 is. Silent Hill 1, 3, and 4 are not that. But every single game since Silent Hill 4, so 5, you know, like whatever it's called, Homecoming, Origins, Downpour, they're all exactly Silent Hill 2's plot, but with different set dressing. And this game is also Silent Hill 2's plot with different set dressing. And it's like, if you're going to do something really different, I mean, just do something really different. And like Silent Hill is not these very specific story tropes. And it's annoying, especially when you have the Silent Hill 2 remake.
So which looks like Silent Hill 2 with Resident Evil set dressing.
Right. Well, and so ultimately, like Anthony says, you're not Hideo Kojima, and you're not going to make Silent Hill 2 again. Even if you literally make Silent Hill 2 again, you're not going to make Silent Hill 2 again. So like, you know, this Silent Hill 2 remake's almost like a curiosity. Like, Silent Hill 2 is such a specific game made by a specific group of people at a certain amount of time, where trying to recreate that just seems like almost like foolish. Like, this isn't like the blockbuster that you recreate mindlessly. It's like, this was like a specific team of artists who made something really unique and trying to like recreate it again. It's not going to have the same effect. I mean, it might be an okay game. I mean, I was actually kind of surprised with this new trailer. There actually is a lot of like beating monsters with sticks in the original Silent Hill 2. You do a lot of that.
Ask about that. Yeah.
I mean, it's not very complicated. It's like you press. It's a very easy game where you just like beat monsters, and it's almost like better if you don't beat the monsters because you can just run past them all for the most part.
Oh.
But if you want the good rating, like the good ranking at the end, you got to beat like 50 monsters. So it's real annoying. But
so combat is a part of it. It's not like having this was like, oh my God, what are they doing to the game?
No, it's fine enough. It's like, but it's not the highlight of the game. It's a weird thing to highlight. It's, you want to highlight like the psychological horror or like the art design, I think, more than like you can shoot guys. That's not really the strength of Silent Hill 2. You can shoot guys and you can beat monsters with sticks, but that's not really what makes Silent Hill interesting. So like the idea that they're like, we got to make a trailer for the combat of this game is like, it's like, what are you guys doing? But
it's funny when I see this, I'm not scared anymore. Like, you have just this montage of action the whole time.
Right.
It sends the wrong impression. I'm like, oh, like this game isn't really all that scary. I just beat up on some folk.
Yeah. Fight some monsters, have fun,
folk,
whatever.
I don't know what those things are. I don't know.
Yeah. They're
Next
folks,
week we're unveiling the co-op mode.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They won't go that far, but I mean, it's just like when Silent Hill went away, I kind of assumed it's because they knew they weren't really getting it. But when they bring this stuff out, I played the short message, I see this remake stuff. It's like, I still don't think they get it. And that's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
So like, I'll play Silent Hill F. I might even play this remake just because it's like such a weird thing to exist, but it's not something I'm overly excited for.
So what's like the consensus online, or maybe not consensus, but like kind of the dominant conversation happening with this combat trailer?
I mean, I think for Silent Hill fans, it's just like, I mean, this isn't what we play Silent Hill for. Because, I mean, it's like we've done this song and dance before,
all
too.
in the game, so I guess I'm playing devil's advocate right now, but like this stuff is in the game. We know it's in the game. We know.
Right. It's just not
Silent
what you...
Hill is a psychological game, thriller, whatever, horror, but
well, and I feel for them.
Played it like this is,
and I feel for them because it's hard to advertise a game like this, and I'm sure they're like, the masses want combat, they want Resident Evil, so let's give them Resident Evil, right?
Especially as popular as Resident Evil has been,
right? And so I'm sure to draw people in that way, but that's just not what Silent Hill is, and that's kind of Konami's issue. Is they have a totally different kind of horror franchise, but they want it to be Resident Evil. And they're like, how do we compromise these things? And I really don't think you can.
If they release a psychological horror trailer that more speaks to what Silent Hill is after this, does that redeem? Let's assume it's good. Can that redeem like the conversation?
I mean, this is going to be what it's going to be, like, I think a lot of Silent Hill people are going to be skeptical until it's out. And if people play it and they really like it, and then it's great, but no trailer is going to change people's minds at this point, I don't think. I mean, this kind of trailer probably does them more good than anything else, because at the very least they'll get like coolest people being like, oh, you can shoot monsters in this, man, I want to play that. So, okay. I mean, again, like you can't make Silent Hill 2 again, even if you make it again. It's just, I get it, but I still feel like Konami doesn't get it, which is whatever. I mean, it's fine.
I wouldn't be surprised if Konami didn't get it.
Some of the ones I'll go over a little faster. The Hoyoverse.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
Went on forever.
Prompt to review. Yeah, we've never had that on the Gaming Trend podcast. There you go. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah.
Like
Hoyoverse did their new Zenless Zone Zero that's coming to PS5.
One of the weirdest names ever.
But they get played by millions of people. So
I know.
I'm assuming it's going to be another hit, at least in Japan. So good on them bringing that to PlayStation. Dave the Diver has Godzilla coming in it. Like,
how's the indie game get Godzilla in it?
That's a crazy crossover for that game.
There's been indie games with some pretty major crossovers.
This one's just crazy though, but it's also coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 with Godzilla going to be there in May. The big one I know that Jack is excited for, Sega's bringing back Sonic Generations. But they're bringing Shadow into it. So yeah. What do you think about that, Jack?
Well, so I mean, some of this stuff leaked beforehand. So like when I saw like Sonic Generations remaster, it's kind of like, well, that's fine. I mean, that's not really my top 10 Sonics. I'm like excited to see, like reconditioned or whatever you call it, but whatever. But, the Shadow stuff is exciting to me. So like, I feel like the number one problem with Sonic these days is that people at Sega are huge cowards. Yeah, they're huge cowards. They don't put guns in their games anymore. They don't have any edge. They don't have any good stories. It all sucks. So,
and we just saw what guns did to Pokemon. So
yeah, see, I think it's great. Well, so you see Shadow here, and he looks like Shadow. He's doing the cool pose. He actually does the gun pose. They took out his gun, but that's his pose where he's holding the gun. That was the pose. So I mean, I like this because they bring back Shadow, who they just don't, after like the decade of cowardice of like, they don't have like real stories. They don't know what to do with this character anymore. Like after they took away Sonic's like tone and just made it like generic adventures and like stuff, like they don't know what to do with this character who has like a complicated backstory and this tragic stuff happening to him. So he's just kind of like in the background of every game, like saying like, huh, or like whatever. Like so they're bringing him back for this game, and they're acknowledging that he has like a backstory in a game called Shadow the Hedgehog, which, has its critics, I would say.
Yes, it does.
But I think acknowledging that stuff's important because I think it's like, it's annoying that they try to bury the past a lot. Like this, even like Sonic Generations was the last time they acknowledged like the entire Sonic history. Like they even had Sonic 06 levels and stuff, right? Like they weren't scared of that. And after Sonic Generations, they got scared for a long time. And so like this Shadow the Hedgehog stuff it's like one step. I mean, doing a Sonic Generations re-release, that's not very brave. I mean, that's kind of whatever. But doing a whole Shadow campaign that's entirely about Shadow the Hedgehog, the video game, that's brave. And so I appreciate that. And so I'm excited to see what they do with that, because apparently he's going to have like extra powers and stuff. It's supposed to be more involved than it looks. I mean, I'm excited to see what they do with it. And look, he's doing like cool quick time event stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a good omen for once.
Yep.
The fact that you're sitting here, I've played quite a few Sonic games. But the fact that you're sitting here talking about like they're scared because like story stuff, I'm like, I don't know how many people actually play Sonic for like the character arcs and the story.
Me.
Yeah, clearly you do.
Yes.
Clearly you do. But I feel like you're probably
there's a lot
in the
of
minority.
No, I don't think I am. I don't think I am at all.
Okay. Yeah. I do. I like Sonic. I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Continuing on,
I think I will say this real quick. I think growing up on original Sonic, where there just wasn't a whole bunch of story, and then you start seeing it once the Dreamcast, Sonic Adventure, into like they start inserting it. I feel like a different generation, like who started with that Sonic, was like, oh, Sonic, like cool, like attached to that stuff. So like me, I'm not really like naturally attached to it in the same way.
Well, and that's fine. I mean, it's kind of complicated though, because Sonic always had stuff like this. It was just wasn't like brought over to Western territories.
Well, but that's my point. Like,
yeah,
so maybe it had it in Japan. It didn't have it over here.
Yeah, and so that there's a bit of a culture gap there where, I think there's some people who are like Genesis Sonic and only Genesis Sonic, and that's fine. But I think there's a wider...
I love Sonic Adventure 2. Oh,
yeah, Sonic Adventure 2 is great, yeah. Yeah. But you don't like Sonic Adventure 2 story? Really?
It's whatever.
Really?
Yeah, it's whatever.
What about when Shadow dies at the end?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh my god.
It's not like, I don't know. It didn't feel like it tugged at me, in all the kind of ways, but like, it didn't make me stop playing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was intrigued. I feel like, with Granblue Fantasy Relink, for example, like, it's a fine story. I played it through. I wanted to see what happened, but I'm not sitting here like, I love this. Nah, it's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is, but I think there's lots of people who enjoy that aspect of Sonic.
Sure,
and I think
fair.
it's good they're feeding into it. Because it's better than like whatever the heck they were doing with like Sonic, like what's it called, Lost World. Where
that was rough. That one was rough. All right, David, what's next?
What's next is another game that I'm looking forward to seeing. Stellar Blade and it was similar to Rise of the Ronin. It got a extended look at the showcase, and I think the thing I'm most surprised about is that it's got a lot more depth to it than I thought it was going to have. I figured, run around levels, slice up some bad guys, like all that kind of stuff done, but there's actually a decent amount of story being told. There is it looks like a hub where you can talk with different townspeople that are a part of the story, and that they won't necessarily like you right off the bat, but you do things for them as you're playing the game, like do side missions, and they'll actually open up to you. Maybe even it sounds like open maybe shops, place for you to shop and stuff like that because of you doing different things. The gameplay itself looks like a lot of fun. It reminds me a lot of Devil May Cry, Nier.
It looks a lot like Nier. Yeah.
And that's a very good thing to be emulating. I see why, from what I understand, Sony, originally this was coming out on multiple platforms. Sony got involved and funded it, and it became a PlayStation exclusive. And then Sony even sent devs over. I think the rumor I heard was Santa Monica, sent some devs over to actually give them some tips and pointers and try to help them to make a great game. And it's actually coming out soon. It's coming out April 26th. And I mean, all the gameplay I've seen, it's stunning. It looks fantastic. And I like what I'm seeing. Noah, this is one you may have a little more opinion on. What are you thinking on this one?
I mean, kind of along the same lines as what you talked about. When we first got the tease of it, I was like, okay, the combat's probably gonna be really good, but a lot of these games, the combat's really good, really fun, but the story's, kind of weak and lacking. Where this one looks to kind of be both, really, take both sides of it and do really well. So the characters look very, they show a lot of different emotions in just a trailer, which I don't think you see too much in action heavy games. But there's a lot of depth in the characters. It looks really emotional. But yeah, and then you get into the combat. It's we're just gonna be buttery smooth, great combat.
Yeah, I'm liking a lot of the world building and the you mentioned the characters. There's so many cool looking characters, the old dude who seems to be telling you stuff, but he's hooked up to a machine and all this kind of it just this cyberpunkish aesthetic to it seems really neat.
This girl's default uniform, though, I mean, her pants are shiny. I'm like, what material is this? Her whole outfit is just bling, just reflecting every light.
Yeah, it just seems like there's a lot more to the game than we originally thought, and that's a really good thing because the gameplay already looked good, but with what it looks like a lot of different ways to upgrade the character, some side missions and stuff like that, depth of story. It just seems like this could be, you see again why Sony invested some extra into it. to get this on their platform. It seems like it's going to be a really fun one to play. And
I get the impression they didn't really show a whole bunch at first, so it was kind of hard to get a feel of how
you know what the game is now. Yeah.
Yeah. This is basically like, oh, okay, like this. Okay, this is good.
Yeah.
Before it's just kind of like, well, all right, this girl exists and she's fighting stuff. Cool. Now we get a lot more, and it is nice to see how deep it at least it looks.
It looks very promising.
Yep, definitely one of those that you're very happy that it got, again, that extended look where systems are explained, and like I said, we can just use more of that. We're down to the last two things that we got. Every time I watch a Hideo Kojima trailer, I don't know what the heck is happening.
Isn't it great?
It's like I love it and hate it at the same time, because I'm like, I really want to know what's happening. This stuff looks really cool, but I don't know what's happening, because like Sam has a talking puppet and he's facing up against the Joker, who ends up fighting a robot samurai with a guitar. Like,
and the puppet is running at 10 frames per second for some reason.
And is apparently Alan Wake. I mean, like I do not know what the heck is going on, but it's maybe that's what makes it so interesting, is we want to find out what's going on.
Yeah, it's fun.
A girl has the hands as a mask. I'm like, what the frick is this?
Yeah. It's like they ran out of the regular masks. This was like, at first it was before they started moving, because like the hands start moving and it's kind of weird and stuff. But at first I watched it, I'm like, did she really just tie two rubber gloves together? Like,
I was like, wait, are those hands?
Yeah, that's the first thing
I was like, wait, she's operating on the thing with her. What is happening?
Yeah, he has a way with making things that are just so over the top.
Somebody's really bad at Guess Who.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Like that's the reason we keep coming back, is he keeps making things that are really interesting. And this looks really interesting. I mean, the original game was. So and he cuts such good trailers. I don't even know.
Just vomited a spaceship out of its mouth.
Like,
for those who are listening.
I don't even know, man. And then this, where they're blue, I have no idea why this section has them as Smurfs.
I thought my TV messed up. Like, did I put a filter
Well, the whole
on
rest of the environment is fine. That's why it's confusing. Yeah. Like, everything else is good.
I was like, was he originally blue in the game?
Yeah,
I was like,
no. Well, but then she turns blue, and it's like, what's going on? Like, is this going to be in the game? Did he accidentally leave this in? Did he like accidentally click the wrong shader? Like,
it'll all make sense after you play both games and then read the lore guide.
Yeah, pretty much. But again, he cut such a good trailer. It looks so good. Like this game looks like gorgeous. Like I need to sit down and watch this trailer in 4K, because just watching it on the stream looks incredible.
Looks good.
Like this is actually, it's the same engine. He picked this engine. It was Guerrilla's engine, Decima, the one that they made the Horizon games on. And those look incredible. So it makes sense that Kojima's getting like this good of like graphical fidelity out of this. But just whatever tech he's using for the facial capture for the characters and whatnot, it's spot on.
Yeah.
And I know it's not always like the tech is getting really good and you get this, but this is like flawless. There's just something about this flawless.
The acting is good too. I like the little Joker character. I was like, ooh, I like him. Whoever's doing the acting for him, I'm hooked.
I think that's Troy Baker.
Yeah, I was like, did you not recognize him?
Well, Troy Baker is that Troy Baker's the when he says Joker, I think he's talking about the little puppet.
Oh, the puppet guy.
No, I'm not talking about the puppet.
Oh, you're
I'm
not?
talking about
The guitar guy, right?
Guitar slinging.
Okay,
Yeah, he's the bad. He's the bad
Troy
guy of the
Baker.
first game. So that's Troy Baker.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I didn't play Death Stranding. That game did not look interesting to me. But this does. I don't see a whole bunch of carrying stuff. So
Well, I think it'll be there, but
I'm very
Sure.
interested to see if you still make pee and poop bombs.
oh, you have to. That's
And yes,
that's its
that
thing.
is
if
that
you're
is an
carrying
actual
a baby
thing.
around, I would imagine so.
So, but it's it's insane. Like this entire trailer is just absolute, just balls to the wall insanity. And at this point, it's like people just let Kojima take up all of like a quarter of showcases at this point. Because at the Game Awards, he was up there for like 10 minutes. He didn't show anything really for at the Game Awards. He just had a couple facial scans. And
Well,
that
but
was
then you
the
see a
entire
trailer
10
like
minutes.
this, which is like
but
10
then
minutes long. It's got like
is
everything
10
in
minutes,
it.
But you get everything here. Like,
Yeah.
how can you have a 10-minute trailer and you walk away more confused than when you first came in?
That's
Like,
exactly what he does. He does it extraordinarily
he's a
well.
master of it.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
really
this-
exciting. This is one of the games I'm looking forward to the most. So.
I think the biggest disappointment was just seeing 2025 because you were just hoping there was a slight chance that maybe this came out this year. So that was a little bit disappointing that we will not see this as quickly as we had hoped.
Yeah.
It might be early 2025 though.
Yeah, I could see that because I could see one of Sony's other first party studios on the other side.
So this guy is Troy Baker?
Yes, this is Troy Baker.
Oh, okay.
He actually,
terrible with actors.
if you go watch the first Death Stranding 2 trailer, Troy Baker is actually singing the song, and I really need the theme song. I really hope that they release that as a like standalone song because I really want to. I like that song a lot, and I want Troy Baker's version of it. But yeah, this is just an absolutely. This whole moment is insane. Like this specific section that's showing in the video is just because all this stuff happens. Apparently, David Flynn said that like there's this big thing that is revealed like in the dialogue that's just that just is kind of earth shattering, and then all of a sudden you go into that guitar robot fight.
Yep.
Which is again just straight up Kojima that. Oh, hey, I'm going to drop like the most something that's going to rock your world. And then a robot is going to fight someone with a guitar.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the Metal Gear Solid 4 trailers where it had like a 6-minute fight scene with Raiden.
Yep. I guess the thing is you watch this kind of stuff and it's like only Hideo Kojima can make this and it work. Like people try to do this and you're like, this is stupid. Hideo Kojima does it, and we sit here like, this is ridiculous, and I'm totally here for it. Like, just...
Yeah.
It works. It somehow works.
Somehow does, yep.
And everybody knows it works, because guess what else happened after all of this happened?
Hideo Kojima spoke more.
Yes, he did. He talked with Herman Holst, which, again, I will say this again, Herman Holst needs to be on the screen for PlayStation a lot more because he has really good energy and he really should continue to be this face of
Jim
the
Ryan
brand.
Energy. Like he has that like uber serious like
yeah, but I think he like especially like him interacting with Hideo though at the end, I could see a lot of genuine like interaction there, and I think that can be coaxed out of him, whereas I don't think that was a part of Jim. Like
it just felt like this is the persona of PlayStation we want to keep doing. Do the Jim Ryan thing.
Yep. But I think like give this guy a chance. I think he can do a good job with it. Like keep he can have the professionalism but the fun at the same time. But that said, he talked with Hideo and they are coming out with they've already signed him to another game. and it is I'm assuming a spiritual successor to Metal Gear, because this is a next generation action espionage game. And of course, he had to come up with the most ridiculous name ever and call it Fizzant, or whatever. It probably
Sounds like
it's
an
probably
energy
pronounced something completely different. Like he probably has some weird pronunciation for it. Faisant or something. Yeah. One of the jokes that I made in one of the Discord chats I was in is like, Konami comes knocking on the door. Is this Metal Gear Solid? And then Herman Hole says, no, it isn't.
It's kind of hard to find that joke. Why was it you who found that one?
And then one of my friends is like, Hideo Kojima's in the background filing off serial numbers of things. Like it's just trying to keep. It's like, no, this isn't it. I promise.
Well, it's kind of hard to read this and OD as anything else but like a screw you Konami, right? Like OD is obviously picking up on his PT ideas and in action espionage. He's making another Metal Gear that's not called Metal Gear. I mean, it's I
mean, if the guy makes something good, you might as well
totally
pay him to do it. And, where does he find the time?
Whoever the snake will be would still be voiced by David Hayter. That would be
well. Kojima hates David Hayter. That's the whole beef. He replaced him with Kiefer in MGS5, and that was a whole big deal.
I remember he replaced him. I didn't know he hated him though.
Well, hate's maybe a strong word. It's more like he doesn't care he exists.
Okay. I didn't know that went down.
Yeah. So because he kept like Snake's Japanese voice actor, even though Kiefer was doing the performance, but he's like, David Hayter can go.
Okay. I'll look that one up.
What's really interesting though is how he talked about like Sony and the ability they have with movies and TV and stuff. So I'm curious if they aren't going to be working this Fizzant or whatever into like other media already.
Like, there's a Death Stranding movie already coming, right?
Yep. So it's just it's cool because Hideo Kojima loves music and movies. Like he loves just entertainment as a whole. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of neat that he has this access now that he didn't have. So he's going to be really heading up a lot of these different things, and it's this is just kind of nuts. But at the same point, it's like if the dude wants to make something for you or has an idea, you just sit there and you throw you throw all your resources behind him. He's an easy person to throw all your resources behind because everything he does has a uniqueness to it that no one else manages to do. And again, it tells you that they're throwing all their resources behind them when they literally filmed this at Columbia Pictures. Yeah. So like they are obviously making plans on whatever it is, and smart by Sony to be like, everybody was wondering with the whole Xbox deal. Oh, is Xbox stealing Kojima away from Sony? Is Sony like? And instead, it's like, nope, I'm making Death Stranding 2, and guess what? I've already signed a deal with Sony to do this next game. So and. He must be building a big team over at Kojima Productions, because he has Death Stranding and OD running side by side, and then the Death Stranding team is going to be going on to Fizzant. So, like, kudos to him.
It's cool that he's got the pipeline all figured out and these stuff's moving. So, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a long time before Fizzant's like a real game, but yeah. But it's good to know he keeps getting work.
So many, like you said, so many people have gone from losing their jobs to like obviously not being a part of the industry again, or having to, or starting something new, but being so low or level, if that makes sense. Like that somebody will start something, but it's so entry level in the industry. Like you hear these big names, we started this studio, but it ends up something really small scale. Whereas Kojima didn't. he walked out the door and pretty much had he was like, okay, so who wants me to make a game for them? Yeah. And everybody showed up. Was like, here you go, anything you want. And that's the thing, is it's an anything you want deal here. like Xbox backed up the Brinks truck, I'm sure, and PlayStation was like, here, we have movie studios, we have heck, they'd give him here, Sony Music. go ahead, go in. Do what you want.
Yeah. He became the #1 desired free agent, basically. Yep.
And like you said, it's great to see him thriving after a bad situation that very easily could have been his downfall and retirement.
Yeah, like like all those Konami people have all kind of found their own way. Like Koji Igarashi from Castlevania, he's got his own studio. He's doing the Bloodstained games. Toyama, I think is his Kiichiro Toriyama, who did the Silent Hill games, has his own studio. They're doing Slitterhead. And yeah, Kojima's got his Empire. So it's cool to see all these people get away from Konami and just to kind of do what they want.
Yep.
Agreed. All right, that'll do it. That's all the state of play, right?
Yep, that's the state of play.
That's the state of play.
There was a couple little things that were in there, but that I think we missed, but that'll be all right.
Yeah. All right. Cool. That'll do it for us this week.
Oh yeah.
We'll be back. This one. I mean, by the time you listen to it, it'll be embargoed or embargo up for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Peace.